to Nurse Talk. If this is your first time here with us, welcome. And if you have been a veteran with us, welcome back. On Nurse Talk here, we talk about nursing trending topics. We try to appeal to new grad nurses and the old school nurses. And then we dazzle a little bit of travel content in there too. So if that's something you're interested in, go ahead and subscribe, like, and keep up with us. But today we want to touch on another nurse who pleaded guilty.
Yes, Christian Gainey, 34-year-old female of Philadelphia. She pled guilty to neglect of care for a dependent and tampering with records. Gainey was employed as a travel LPN for Cathedral Village in Upper Roxborough, Pennsylvania.
So here's the thing. We have this LPN, this travel LPN that's working at this long-term facility. The patient that she's caring for had recently been admitted to the facility 4 days prior to her working with him. He had suffered a stroke and he was there for long-term care. So apparently...
Herbert McMaster, 84 years old.
84 years old. Yep. So the story is this guy has been, the 4 days that he's been at the facility, he's been falling. He had fallen 5 times since his arrival date. And it just so happens that he fell prior to Gainey taking care of him. And she failed to do the neurological checks that were required of her.
But stated that she did do them.
Right.
Hence the falsifying records.
So if you guys don't know, neurological checks are when you check someone just to make sure there's no changes in the way they are responding to you,
like you know where you are?
Yep. I'm here.
Good.
At this time, in this place.
Yeah.
So that's what the kind of questions you ask the patients to make sure that they know exactly what's going on. You check different functions as well to make sure that they're reacting properly. And that's how you can gauge whether there's an issue or not. So records say there was surveillance outside of the patient's room that showed her not going in to do those neuro checks the times that she recorded that she did. So that's her falsifying documentation charge. Also, she wasn't doing vital signs, which is blood pressures, temperatures, heart rate around the clock, like she said she was as well. The patient ended up dying at 7 o'clock. Well, they said the patient had passed away prior to one of her alleged neurological checks.
Right. It was found at 7 a.m. Probably when they were doing a change of shift. So how did the facility fail her? If this guy's fallen 5 times over this little 4-day stay that he had, wouldn't it make sense to have some sort of one-to-one or some sort of fall prevention plan in place?
Right.
Because this could have been prevented.
Yep, the patient suffered a subdural hematoma, which is a brain bleed, and that was something that was definitely preventable.
Also, what her sentence was 6 months house arrest. She's also not able to work with basically patients anymore, any care facilities or in the home, no home care, stuff like that, for at least
5 years. But this is yet another nurse that has reached headlines within the past, I'm going to say 30 days. We just covered something on Redonda, who just been sentenced. And this is nurse number 2.
And I'm sure it won't be the last, and these probably weren't the first 2 either. So some tips that would have helped in a situation like Gainey's would be to speak up if you can't handle your workload.
Right.
If it's too much for you, it's overwhelming, then make sure you let somebody else know, because you trying to take it on by yourself and then falsifying documentation, it's not going to fly, obviously.
Right. And sometimes in long-term care, they try to play you out, have one nurse to like 40 patients. This is a chance for you to advocate for yourself. So you definitely have to speak up. So another thing is adhere to orders and procedures and policies. Like, this is key, guys. These orders and policies are in place for you to follow them. You can't come and DIY your way into nursing, at least not at a facility that you want to continue to work at. So this is where you need to, if it says Q4 neuro checks, You need to go in every how many hours according to the policy and make sure that you're checking the patient because you don't want those adverse reactions to happen.
You want to make sure that you're prioritizing needs. So if you have a patient that fell, hit their head, something like that, obviously they would be somebody who's more on the top of your list of somebody you want to check on regularly versus somebody who may be
needing a bedpan.
Right, exactly. So that would come first, a neuro check over a bedpan.
And then also, like, I know the money's out there, the incentives out there, the OT is crazy right now because everybody's leaving. But don't just chase the bag when you're picking up these travel assignments. Make sure that these numbers are making sense, that your contract has ratios in there that are safe for you to work in.
And usually there's some sort of orientation in the beginning.
Right.
So if you do the orientation, you see that things are kind of sketchy somewhere.
It's time to go.
Yeah, don't play yourself and get involved in something like that. Yeah, let your recruiter know that this is an unsafe place and that you're not willing to work it. Don't just go after money and see dollar signs because that's how you end up in situations like this. It's not always worth it.
So that being said, if you work in a long-term care facility like this nurse did, it's really important. I know that the patient-nurse ratio is a lot larger than if you're in an acute care setting, but it's really important that you guys are keeping up with your bed checks and documenting as things are happening in real time. If you ever reach a point where you're not able to document in real time because of something else had grabbed you or another patient needed you, make sure that you're documenting that as well. Comment below and tell us what you're thinking about our girl Gainey. Do you think it's right that she's experienced a 6 months house arrest with 5-year penalty? Or do you think it's all right? Like, you know, what are you thinking?
Yeah, what are your thoughts? And we'll leave links to the articles that we read down below for you to check out as well to get more information.
Alrighty. Well, thanks for tuning in, and we will catch you next time on Nurse Talk.